Okay, so I might be 9 years late to this, but Black Ops 6 is just around the corner, and that game supposedly has gobblegums in it, so I thought this might be a good time to make a gobblegum tier list. But before this video starts, I just want to preface that this is mega gobblegums only, so we're not going to do classics. And there's two gobblegums we're not going to include, those being Flavored Hexed and I'm Feeling Lucky, just because they're both random and you can have severely different outcomes each time, so there's no really fair way to rank them. Okay, so at number 42, the absolute worst gobblegum in Black Ops 3 Zombies is Unbearable. If you don't know what Unbearable does, pretty much on every single map except Nacht, if you hit the box too many times, a teddy bear will show up and move the box to a different location on the map. And what this gobblegum does is it respins the box if you get a teddy bear, so it stays in the same location, so you can hit it a few more times before it goes again. The reason for this being dead last is that you only have 5 gobblegum slots, and this is pretty much a waste given the fact that gobblegums like Immolation Liquidation exist, which you will see much higher up on the list. And I feel like in most instances, if I'm repeatedly hitting the box, I feel like there's a pretty good chance that I have a lot of points, and therefore I've opened up the rest of the map so I could just go wherever the box is elsewhere on the map, which is why I think this gobblegum is pretty much useless. In at number 41, we have Bored to Death. Pretty much if you rebuild a barrier, all the zombies around you get insta-killed. I'm kind of having a hard time seeing how this would be useful in any scenario, at any stage during the game, given that more or less the only time I will be rebuilding barriers is at the start of the game, and I could just knife the zombies in 1 or 2 hits then anyway. So again, I think it's pretty much useless. And at number 40, we have Bored Games, which is the slightly better alternative to Bored to Death. Not by much though, because all it does is rebuild all the barriers in a window as soon as you rebuild one barrier. It's like you're a walking carpenter, but you can only rebuild one window at a time. The reason for why this is slightly higher than Bored to Death is because there are 1 or 2 scenarios where it could be useful, like if you're doing a starting room challenge in a map like Barucht and you're just getting swarmed all the time and you want to stop the zombies pouring in. It still doesn't change the fact though that I think this gobblegum is pretty pointless. And then coming in at number 39, we have Licensed Contractor. I'm going through this list, I'm starting to realize how many barrier-related gobblegums there are at the bottom. But pretty much what this gobblegum does is it spawns in 3 carpenters at the press of a button, and in my opinion, carpenters are pretty useless because I feel like they only slow the game down in most scenarios. But the thing that puts this above the others is that it gives you 600 points for collecting them, and if you get a double point at the start of the game, you're basically getting 1200 points for free at the beginning of the game, which can be useful, but gobblegums like extra credit are just way more efficient, so I can't really put this higher on the list. At number 38, we have Respin Cycle. If you hit the box and you don't like what you see, you can just try again. In the gameplay, I get a Thunder Gun, and I wasn't about to let that go, but you get the idea. 2 free spins of the box is the same as spending 1900 points, which can be good at the start of the game, but like I previously said, gobblegums like Immolation Liquidation exist, so it makes this gobblegum pretty much useless. Number 36, Disorderly Combat. One thing I found out whilst filming for this video is that if you have a double Pack-a-Punch weapon whilst using this gobblegum, all of the weapons will come out Pack-a-Punched. If you don't know what Disorderly Combat does, basically you get a different weapon every 10 seconds of 5 minutes. And in this scenario, when I popped the gobblegum, I had a pre-Pack-a-Punch weapon, so all the weapons I got were Pack-a-Punched. But even after finding this out, it didn't really change my thoughts on it. The reason for why this isn't higher is that you're eventually going to want a stable, reliable way to get to a high round, and getting random weapons for a limited amount of time doesn't really help with that. Number 35, Ethereal Enhancement. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. What this gobblegum does is it Pack-a-Punches your current weapon for 60 seconds at a time, and it has 2 activations. I can see the argument for this being kind of useful at the start of the game, given that you have a fresh set of ammo every time you pop it, but because it only lasts 2 minutes, I think there are just better early game alternatives. Number 34, we have Secret Shopper, which is the lowest ultra rare mega on the list. This gobblegum allows you to buy ammo for any weapon on any wall slot, but the issue is that you can't use it for wonder weapons, which makes it pretty much useless for high rounds. If you're using a weapon with alternate ammo types and you're training in an area with a wall buy, I guess maybe it could be useful. But with most of these lower gobblegums, there are just better alternatives for your 5 slots, I find. Number 33, Temporal Gift. Power-ups last twice as long for 1 full round, which is actually pretty good for the start of the game if you've got double points, for example. But when you get late game, the only really useful drop is a max ammo, and this gobblegum doesn't really help with that, so I think 33 is a good spot. Number 32 is another ultra rare mega, Head Drama. Pretty much what this gobblegum does is it makes zombies take headshot damage for the remainder of the round, no matter where you hit them. And again, early game it's okay, but late game when you're relying on wonder weapons and double Pack-a-Punch, it's not really that helpful. Number 31, Fatal Contraption. This gobblegum spawns in 2 death machines, which can actually be pretty useful on both early and late rounds, but this is pretty much an insta-kill that lasts for 60 seconds, and on the later rounds where zombies are pouring in for like 20 to 30 minutes per round, it's all of a sudden not that good. And then at number 30, we have Burned Out. This gobblegum creates like an overpowered Widow's Wine effect, but it only lasts for 2 hits. It wasn't until I got this gameplay I realized how good the range of this gobblegum actually is. But again, because it only lasts for 2 hits, I don't think it's all that practical or useful. And we continue on speeding through these middle tier gobblegums because there's not much to talk about them. So at number 29, we have Mind Blown. You pretty much get 3 Thundergun-like shots with just a press of a button. What puts this above the last one is that you can choose when you pop it rather than it automatically being activated, and you get 3 activations, not 2. So I'd argue it's slightly better. Number 28, Slaughter Slide. If you slide with this gobblegum, you pretty much kill anything in your path. But if you're anything like me, you'll end up sliding on autopilot without any zombies even being around you. What puts this above the other 2 is that it has 6 activations, which is significantly better than the other 2 and 3 that I previously listed. Number 27, Killjoy. This gobblegum has 2 activations and spawns in an insta-kill each time, a lot like Fatal Contraption, which once again is not bad at all, but it's also not that good either. I see this as a middle of the pack kind of gobblegum. In at number 26, we have Aftertaste. If you go down in solo with this gobblegum, you get picked right back up with all your perks except Quick Revive. In co-op, it's the same thing, I'm pretty sure, but you keep all of your perks and you don't lose Quick Revive. Overall, I think it's a pretty good gobblegum, but some of the ones I'm about to mention will prevent you from even going down in the first place, so I can't really place it any higher. And then at number 25, we have Pop Shocks. This gobblegum has 5 activations and spawns in an electric beam every time you knife a zombie, almost like a mini Wonder Waff shot. Once again, it can be pretty useful against certain bosses or if you're running into a horde of zombies, but I think your 5 slots can be used a bit better in my opinion. In at number 24, we have Who's Keeping Score. Like the other power-up gobblegums, this spawns in 2 double points. I find this to be most useful at the start of the game when points are scarce and you're trying to open up the map. After that, for the most part, I find it loses its purpose, but it still can help you save a lot of time early game. In at number 23, we have another power-up gobblegum, Dead of Nuclear Winter. Like the other ones, this has 2 activations and spawns in 2 nuke power-ups to clear out the map. I find this to be most useful during speedruns, which is why it's higher than some of the other power-up gobblegums on this list. During a speedrun, players might use this to try and end the round faster. But on the contrary, if you're using this in a normal run, it might end the round when you don't want it to, which is why it's a double-edged sword. Number 22, Fear in Headlights. This gobblegum does is any zombie seen by a player will not move. Now, this can be useful if you're trying to do an Easter egg step or revive a player, but in both of those instances, I'd rather just have an Idolize anyway. Speaking of which, coming in at 21 to mark the halfway mark is Idolize. This gobblegum has 3 activations and makes you invisible for 30 seconds at a time. This is always useful to have as a get out of jail free card or if you're trying to do an Easter egg for example, which is why I think it's a middle of the road gobblegum. Number 20, Undead Man Walking. This gobblegum slows zombies right down to round 1 walking speed. Now once again, if you're trying to do an Easter egg, this is great because zombies aren't constantly sprinting at you. But what places this above the previous one is that instead of being invisible for a minute and a half, all the zombies are really slow for 4 minutes, which is basically the same thing. Number 19, Killing Time. This gobblegum makes every zombie freeze on the map and effectively freezes time. If you shoot one of these zombies, they get killed after the timer runs out, no matter what gun you use. Overall, a decent gobblegum. Number 18, Phoenix Up. I was recording this solo during the night and didn't have anyone to show this gobblegum with, but basically what it does is it revives all of your teammates and they get to keep all of their perks. What puts this above Aftertaste is that it's instantaneous and you don't have to be near your teammate for it to work, and rather than it lasting X amount of rounds, it just has 1 activation so you can use it whenever you choose. Number 17, Bullet Boost. Grants you 2 activations and with each activation it gives you the double pack-a-punch effect on a weapon of your choice. Double pack-a-punching one weapon costs 2,500 points, so 2 of these together pretty much means 5,000 free points. And some maps like Varrock not having a pack-a-punch machine, this can be a deal breaker for high rounds. Number 16, Unquenchable. It allows you to carry an additional perk instead of the usual 4, so you can carry 5 now. And if you pick up another one of these gobblegums, you can get a 6th perk, etc. If you're running low on perkaholics, for example, this can be pretty useful, but if you have a better alternative gobblegum, this gobblegum doesn't become as practical. And then number 15, we have On the House. Rather than allowing the player to purchase an extra perk, it straight up gives the player a free perk, which is pretty much enough said. It's a good gobblegum. Number 14, Extra Credit. This gobblegum has 4 activations and grants a player 1,250 points each time, adding to a total of 5,000 points for free. And if you get a double point, that's 10,000 points for free effectively. This is one of the best gobblegums early game, but like with Who's Keeping Score, eventually you're going to reach a point where you have hundreds of thousands of points and points just become kind of obsolete. Number 13, Soda Fountain. Every time you buy a perk, you get an extra one for free, and this also removes the perk cap. So if a map has 8 perks in it, you can run around and buy the 4 cheapest perks on the map and get 8 perks all for the price of the first 4. Overall, a good gobblegum, but like with some of the other perk gobblegums, it just can't compete with Perkaholic. Number 12, Profit Sharing. This gobblegum activates instantly and lasts for 10 minutes. Pretty much what it does is any point earned by a teammate is also rewarded to all the surrounding players. So as long as the players are in range, if one player, for example, in a squad of 4 earns 10 points, all the other players will also be granted 10 points. Now, like with Phoenix Up, I was recording late at night, so didn't have anyone to show it with, but you get the the idea. The reason for why it's not higher is because points basically become pointless beyond a certain point. Number 11, Immolation Liquidation, which spawns in 3 fire sales. If you don't know what a fire sale is, basically it makes every box location on the map have a mystery box in it, and rather than it costing 950 points each time, it temporarily costs 10 points. So for example, when I'm playing Shadows of Evil and I want little armies, this gobblegum's really practical and useful. And yeah, overall it's a good gobblegum. And then cracking the top 10, we have Cashback. This gobblegum spawns in a free max ammo. Now, on low rounds, this ain't that good, but on high rounds, this can be the difference between round 60 and round 100, for example. Because sometimes drops are scarce, and this can be a lifeline almost. Number 9, Round Robin. If you don't want to play around, why not just skip it? Because that's what this gobblegum does. And there's a reason why it's banned on most high round speedruns, because it's just that overpowered. In addition to ending the current round, it also grants the player 1600 points. But to be honest, usually when I play, I don't run this gobblegum because it makes the game too easy. Number 8, Wall Power. If you have this gobblegum and you purchase a weapon off the wall, it comes out Pack-a-Punched. Now for maps like Nacht or Shinonuma, for example, that don't have a Pack-a-Punch machine, this is a deal breaker. Especially when paired with a gobblegum like Bullet Boost. Not only is it extremely powerful, but also a massive time saver because you don't have to spend time opening up all of the map to try and get Pack-a-Punch. Number 7, Crate Power. Wall Power, slightly better alternative. It does the exact same thing as Wall Power, but the only difference is when you hit the mystery box rather than getting a weapon off the wall, that gun will come out Pack-a-Punched instead. What puts this a little bit above Wall Power is that the mystery box has wonder weapons in it, like the Ray Gun Mark II seen in the gameplay. Number 6 is Self-Medication. Now in my opinion, this gobblegum's a bit overrated, so let me explain why. If you don't know what this gobblegum does, pretty much as long as you have Quick Revive, if you go down and you get a kill with a ray gun, you get instantly revived with all your perks including Quick Revive, and you get 3 activations of it. So now you're probably thinking, how is this overrated? And pretty much when I play zombies, I like to go for high rounds, and when you get to a certain point, killing a zombie with a ray gun becomes almost impossible, so I'd much rather have something that will stop me from going down in the first place, like this next gobblegum. Number 5 is probably the most iconic gobblegum in zombies, Perkaholic. This gobblegum gives the user every single perk on that map instantly. This doesn't require much of an explanation, it's just good, and I think most people who play the game agree. Number 4, Raindrops. This gobblegum has 2 activations, and it grants the player every single power up on the map each time. Now one of those drops is a perk ball, so not only are you getting things like a double points along with an extra credit, but also that perk ball will not only give a perk to you, but also all the players in your lobby as well. I put this in 4th because it's both good at the start and end of the game, because there's never a bad time really to have a max ammo. Okay, on to the top 3 now. So in at 3rd, we have Shopping Free. Literally everything on the map becomes free for an entire minute. This is easily the best early game gobblegum because you can get fully geared up and have the entire map open on just round 1, which can save the player a significant amount of time. Now you're probably thinking after round 1 this becomes effectively useless because it's basically just another points gobblegum. But if you get this gobblegum after round 1, you can just pick it up and then you have temporarily unlimited points, so you can just use that to re-hit the gobblegum machine no matter what the round and just get a different gobblegum. So I'd argue it's good at all stages during the game. And then coming in at number 2, we have Near Death Experience. This gobblegum is ranked to the top for many and for pretty good reason. It quite literally makes you invincible for 3 full rounds. If you go down, so long as you have Quick Revive, you get immediately revived with all your perks including Quick Revive. At least that's the case on solo. If you're on co-op, it works slightly different. You just have to be near one of your teammates in order for them to be revived. And yeah, to put it into perspective, it's another banned gobblegum on world record websites, which just shows how overpowered it is. And then coming in at number 1, the best gobblegum in Black Ops 3 Zombies is Power Vacuum. This gobblegum removes the limit for the number of drops zombies can drop during a round, which basically makes it so you can get a ridiculous amount of power-ups at all stages during the round. Now, the reason for why this is higher than Near Death Experience is because it lasts 4 full rounds rather than 3 full rounds. Although Near Death Experience makes you fully invincible, Power Vacuum makes you almost invincible for just a bit longer, which is why I'd argue it's slightly better. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'd like to add this entire list is subjective and it's just my opinion. I'll leave the tier list in the description if you want to make your own tier list and compare it to mine. I hope Black Ops 6 has a similar gobblegum system, but honestly I think I'd prefer it if some of the more overpowered gobblegums weren't so strong. I think challenge makes zombies fun, and I think it's a pretty good reason that some of these gobblegums at the higher end of the list are banned from world records. This is my first zombies YouTube video, so I'm gonna be terrible at outros, so I'll end with this. Thank you for watching, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd like or subscribe. But other than that, goodbye.